Hey there guys, welcome to Anthony Reviews, where Anthony reviews. Since it's just about Sonic's anniversary here in the States, I wanted to take a look at something Sonic related, but with a twist. The Transformers brand is no stranger to crossovers and collaborations, whether it's Star Wars and Marvel from the mid-2000s or their more modern movie crossover stuff like Back to the Future and Ghostbusters. Well, continuing on this trend, we have official Sonic the Hedgehog Transformers. This 2-pack features two characters, Blue Booster and Wingtail. Okay, I guess I should sort of explain for those who aren't familiar with these what these types of toys are. When Hasbro does their Transformers collaborations, the idea is that the iconic vehicles are sort of their own people. So the Ecto-1 isn't Bill Murray or something, he's his own living guy. Or like the Mandalorian, it's not just the Mando, but he's the Naboo Starfighter, Oh wait, that is how that works. Okay, well what about the G.I. Joe ones? Oh, so those are like pre-established Transformers, but with G.I. Joe vehicle modes? So Blue Booster and Wingtail are two robots that resemble two iconic Sonic vehicles, and when transformed, they also happen to resemble the animals who drive said vehicles. Everybody got that? Okay, great. In terms of robot modes, I do think that these two look pretty good. Booster here is very standard car robot guy. If you've handled a car transformer in, let's say, the last 10 years or so, then this guy should feel pretty familiar. He does a nice job at keeping a lot of the car pieces visible while also having that general Sonic aesthetic. It's sort of bizarre seeing a Sonic design without the red shoes, but what else are you gonna do when practically the whole vehicle is blue? Where they do work in the color variations, such as the arms and the chests with this sort of gold color, does look really nice because of that reason. Tails, or Wingtail rather, does something similar but in a much bigger way. He's going from a mostly red biplane to a yellowy orange body. They honestly did what they could to make any part of him that color while maintaining the red plain parts. Obviously things like limbs and his head are going to maintain that sort of Tails color. He's also a lot more obviously a plane. Where Blue Booster has a few visible wheels and things, it's very obvious to see what Wingtail is. The coolest detail here is absolutely the tail of the plane splitting in half, which sort of gives him two tails. Get it? Two tails? I mean, come on, that's pretty good, I won't lie. I want to take a closer look at these heads since they have a lot to pull off. For Booster, I do like his head. There's something about it that strikes a nice balance between robot and hedgehog. The shape of his quills, as well as the large blue visor, all come off very Transformers in a good way. It does a nice job at looking like Sonic as opposed to the number of robot Sonic lookalikes such as Metal or Mecha or whatever. Wingtail, however, is a bit more, I don't know, is organic the right word? This one feels a lot more like the character roboticized rather than a Transformer head with the passing resemblance to Tails. This just looks a lot closer to something like a Metal Tails to me, as opposed to Sonic, Blue Booster of course. He doesn't really have that problem. The articulation on these two is interesting. I think I've said it before on this channel, but articulation for Transformers has always been kind of strange. With a 6-inch action figure, you have an expected layout of articulation points, how they should move, how many there should be, etc. But with Transformers, you're sort of left up to whatever the designers can manage. I'm sure they consider things like wrists and waists and necks and whatnot, but they also have to take into account the pieces and joints involved in transformation. So these two do have movement in places, just in sort of awkward places. This also compounds into a worse issue, that being the sort of fiddliness. Blue Booster isn't too bad. He can move the way that you want him for the most part, but there's just this one panel on his leg that anytime I touch it, it's coming off. The other one doesn't. The other one's fine, but this one, it annoys me, for sure. Wingtail has the same issue, but worse. The way the wings peg into his arms cause a lot of problems for me. Similar to the panel I just mentioned, you move them around enough and these things are coming off. No doubt about it. If you can manage to transform this guy without removing the wings by accident, you might as well be the ultimate life form, because it's impossible. Another sort of weird detail about seeing these two side by side is the sort of scale. Wingtail just comes off a bit taller, a bit wider than Blue Booster. A plane is certainly bigger than a car, so it makes sense, but still, Tails isn't bigger than Sonic. That doesn't make any sense. Let's talk about accessories, and honestly, I think I'm a bit mixed on them. Wingtail comes with this gun that can also serve as sort of a jet booster on the plane. It has a blast effect, which I do think looks fine enough, and You know, it feels techy for Tails, but also kind of spacey enough for like a ray gun for Transformers. Blue Booster's accessories feel a bit more unique, however. He comes with this ring shield, which I will admit is very cool. Rings and Sonic of course go hand in hand, so it makes perfect sense. Not to mention we don't see a lot of shields in Transformers, so getting him one stands out. I like the gold trimming and the translucent blue, just overall it's a cool looking piece. The other item at first glance is pretty straightforward. It's an item capsule with the image inside being sort of this sparkly thing, which makes it invincibility, which is cool. A neat detail about this is that if you turn the top, it actually turns into an Autobot logo, which I like that. It really drives home this sort of crossover feel. Where it gets weird, however, is that it's also a gun. Yeah, you heard me right. You pull this tab out on the bottom and it can become like a blaster, I guess. It looks weird and bulbous. Is it supposed to resemble like a Wispon? You know, like a Wespon? Wispon? Wespon? I don't know how to pronounce that word. I have no clue what this is even supposed to be. And he can't really hold it, so you sort of have to mount it on his hand instead. It looks weird. Doesn't really work. I'll just stick to it being a capsule and set it aside. Alright, let's talk about their alt modes. These guys are Transformers, so they do in fact transform. Blue Booster is pretty basic. I've said it a couple times now, but if you've handled a car-type Transformer recently, then he's pretty much like that. The end result is pretty fun and honestly kind of cute. He transforms into Sonic's racing car known as the Speedstar. He's had this car for a while now, and it's his sort of go-to vehicle for Sonic in these racing games that always come out, so it's a logical choice for sure. But I don't know, it comes off a bit squished, which I actually like. Like, it kind of has this sort of chibi or something feel to it. The red on the wheels definitely gives it a dash of color, which is really nice against all this blue. Overall, I'd say this one gets a thumbs up from me. Wingtail's transformation was way less satisfying for me. As mentioned before, these detachable wings are really annoying. You might as well remove them now and just reattach them when you're done. Does that make him a parts former? Yeah, I don't know. The end result here is pretty good. He also comes off a bit squished, a bit chibi, but not to the same effect as Blue Booster. I like the landing gear, and it makes it easy for him to sort of sit there and look good, but he's decent overall. Both of these also have issues that they come off a bit gappy. Like, you want to sort of mush them together and make them sort of seal together perfectly, but there's just little pieces here and here where they just don't do that. And that, of course, is not ideal. The Transformers collaborations are weird. I'm not really sure if you can just be a fan of one of these things in order to warrant picking them up. You kind of have to be a fan of both to get anything out of them. Blue Booster is definitely the strongest out of the set, but even then he's an okay Transformers toy. Wingtail is a fun idea, just executed in ways that I don't find overly satisfying. So I guess get them if you like both these things and just hate having money. This video is brought to you in part by Hobby Link Japan. If you're a fan of things like Super Sentai or just Japanese media in general, why don't you check out Hobby Link Japan? They've got figures, statues, and a whole horde of different kind of collectibles. Click the link down in the description below to check out Hobby Link Japan today. Thank you guys so much for watching my review of this Transformers x Sonic the Hedgehog collaboration set. You know, there's pretty cool figures. Are they ideal figures? And not really, no. But, you know, I'm a fan of both these things, Transformers and Sonic the Hedgehog. I usually skip out on these collaboration crossover things, but this one spoke to me and I was interested to check it out, and that's why you got what you got today. But thank you guys so much for watching this. Let me know what you guys think of the figures down in the comments below. If you think they should do other Sonic stuff or other franchises they should cross over with. Should they do more video game stuff? Should they do whatever? Let me know what you guys think down below. Feel free to subscribe for future videos. I do tons of different toy reviews and things, so if this interested you, feel free to check out my older content as well, and, you know, all that typical YouTube stuff. But thanks again so much for watching, guys, and take care.